have to take you back to 2010, when I found out I had stage 4 cancer. When we found out at the exact same time that my son had a tumor in his lung.
The unimaginable. A father of 3, husband, fighter pilot, hears that news, feels hopeless, helpless, and angry. How a chance encounter with a young girl being wheeled into the hospital not only changed his perspective, but the way he lives his life today. Take us back to that day when you saw his daughter and what it meant for you.
So this is about a month into my cancer journey. Now JJ's already had most of his lung removed. As I'm going to the hospital, this immense feeling of dread. I just couldn't understand why I felt so bad at this point in my cancer journey. And as I walk into the hospital, I realize why. As I'm staring up at this building, I realize that I'm gonna die in one of those rooms. And when I opened up my eyes, I see this beautiful little girl with blue eyes staring right back at me. Bald head, a surgical mask over her face, her father wheeling her in, and we locked eyes. We had a moment, and I could tell in that moment, Susan, that she was afraid. And in that second, all ounce of self-pity, the lowest low of my life that I'd felt just half a second before, evaporated. And all I could feel was sorrow and wanting to help this little girl. And I said, God, I've had 33 wonderful years. I'm a fighter pilot. I have a beautiful family. I'm living my dream. Don't help me, help her.
So it changed your entire perspective. And your daughter has since passed away. How do you think she would feel? Her legacy, she had a moment, a connection, and changed lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, her, you know, one of the last things she told us before she died 5.5 years ago was that she wasn't scared for herself, she was scared for us, you know, how we would continue on. So that was her legacy, you know. And the big thing that connected, that resonated with me with Joel's article on LinkedIn was the fact that you can choose your reaction. And because Christina chose her reaction, and she was fearful, but by the time her timing came, she stared death in the eyes and took it. And so that's the kind of life we want to live.
Now back then, my son and I had a weekly ritual. Every Friday, I would make popcorn and we'd watch The Lion King. And every week, I would skip past the part in the movie where the father lion died. I thought it was just too traumatic for my 3-year-old. A few weeks into our medical nightmare, I decided to let the movie play through, knowing that my son would soon face the same loss.
JJ, you must be so proud of your father. Do you remember that time when you were in the hospital?
I remember very little moments. Like, I remember the pain walking through the halls of the hospital on my side, but that was just mostly it.
You said that when you were in the hospital, there were people with you who were diagnosed, and you would talk about plans for the future.
That's exactly right. So as I'm sitting in this chemo room with all these people that are battling their own disease, and we all said what we're gonna do when we got better. We were all so optimistic. And not all those people got that second chance. I did. And I didn't carry what other people carry, which is survivor's remorse, a sense of guilt, where you survive something everyone else doesn't. You wonder, why me? They fought just as hard. I didn't have that, but I do carry something that we call survivor's obligation. I have an obligation to attempt to live out the dreams we all expressed in the chemo room. I have an obligation to the many others that didn't make it through their cancer battle. Not to merely exist after cancer, but to live the life we all dreamed of. So, my son and I live outside of our comfort zones. What does that mean? Well, this is him completing a lap around the pool at 3 years old, only 4 months after surgery to remove most of his lung. This is about the trials that we all face, whether it's divorce or hopelessness or depression or PTSD from the war or the loss of a loved one. We all are survivors. I'm a survivor, you're a survivor, JJ, Chad, all survivors, and we have an obligation to live our lives the way those that didn't have that second chance would have wanted to.
And that is the hope for you. Joel, his son JJ, and Christina's father Chad hope that you are able to live with intention as well. Share your story, connect with others, and know that no matter what you've been through, you too are a survivor.